Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the youth as well, who are the drivers of the Africa we want, the drivers of the African continental free trade area. I would like to call upon Tarisai, please, to come forward. Like I said, nguvu niku saidiana. So she's going to help me right now with the next session. Thank you. This is Anna Mike.
Thank you very much. And when you say I'm now calling upon the youth, I'm not sure if that was in reference to Tarisai. But anyway, thank you so much. And we're now getting to the most exciting part of the day. I think this is what we have all been waiting for. We have heard everyone speak, but now I'm going to usher you into what I'm calling the grand debate. When I was preparing for this debate, I'm not going to be debating. They will come, the responsible debaters. But when I was preparing for this debate, I spoke to a few youth online. And what they were saying is that some of them, they asked me this question: what is after? They don't know. Those who said, they thought that it's just an ambitious agreement, highly ambitious. And some of them said the benefits only exist on paper. And some of them said the agreement is creating jobs, economics are thriving, there's free movement, but at this moment, I would want to call upon the debaters, the grand debaters, who are going to debate respectfully. They're not going to debate against each other, but against facts only. So, ladies and gentlemen, may you give a round of applause to the most smartly dressed two gentlemen here. These are SRC leaders. So the SRC leaders will be this side. Can I also have the young parliamentarians or the representatives of the young parliamentarians? May you please come forward. Don't be shy, please come. We need to wrap this up with a bang. Kamala and your colleague. Thank you so much. So the question, what we need to understand is after. Is there anything for youth in this agreement? Is it working? Has it worked? Are you benefiting? Are you not? Is it just an empty piece of paper, or it's not? All right. So this side, they are in support of the AfCFTA agreement. This side, they are against. So we'll hear the opening arguments.
No, thank you very much. And greetings to all the aspiring future and people who will ensure that Africa is a free trade zone. Africa is a continent where no barriers exist amongst ourselves. A continent that will be able to eradicate all the constraints that emerged from colonialism. My name is Kabelo Pungwayo, the acting president of the SRC. And what I would just like to firstly outline is that really, when we were invited to this program, when I saw AfCFTA, I was like, what is this? That was the first question. I was like, what is this now? And as I did more research and I kept on reading and reading and reading, I'm like, this is what we've been actually looking for all along. I mean, if we properly look at it, DP, drawing from Walter Rodney, he would say that Europe underdeveloped Africa in the same time that Africa developed Europe. Okay. Now, when you critically look at that argument, what is basically being said there is that the only thing we need to do as Africans is to reverse that action of being underdeveloped and developing other people. Now, how does that really happen? I think you've articulated it very well. You actually took most of the points we wanted to make. So we firstly look at the monetary system, really. You understand? One of the first few things that I looked at and I saw Uguti, this must actually be one of the first goals of Archives, to say that let us ensure that the medium of exchange, in as much as we want trade to be free, but the medium of exchange must also enable our socio-economic standards and conditions so as to ensure that we are then able to trade freely. Because if the medium of exchange still requires us to use a currency that was developed in another continent, it means that we're like toddlers in Antarctica, butt naked, basically. So honestly, my opening statement is just revolving around how did we get here? Why are we even saying and chanting for free trade? And how we got here is simply by the constraints that were produced by colonialism. And as I have opened with Walter Rodney, he makes very good arguments for me. And all I would just like to make it very critical here is that the world is changing, and it's changing rapidly so. And as Africans, we must then position ourselves in such a way that we are able to catch the flow of change as well, and then we're able to direct it such that it benefits Africans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you have all heard the president speaking. Who can argue with the president? But unfortunately, we do have a side that is going to argue with the president. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Greetings. I'm part of SADC Youth also. I present Black Management Forum, which is an NPO that has been in existence for over 40 years. As much so, we were at the forefront of negotiating for triple BEE. And at some point, Ndate Wanang Mahale was one of the president, or rather, he led the organization. However, as much as I'm here, I am here to unpack a topic about free trade within the continent. And my arguments are against it. In particular, so, it is because it fails to protect infant businesses. What do I mean by that? Small, medium enterprises won't be able to thrive. And let us just tailor it further. It's almost impossible okay, please spare me your imagination here. It will be almost impossible for SPOE Ltd or PTY to compete with McStill. Why so? McStill has already gained brand awareness. It knows how to operate within bureaucratic procedures. They know how to operate with their eyes closed. What do we mean here? For infant businesses, now we need to take it back to the township, rural development. It will be almost impossible for them to compete in a standard whereby they need to come together or come to communicate with other countries within African continent to say, hey, can we draft a policy here to say, how can we move one goods to another in our country to your country? In this term, it will be impossible for them again to commercialize and also to create employment. Currently, we're sitting at an unimaginable state whereby employment for young people, it's hard for them to get. Therefore, it's also not, it's impossible to imagine small, medium enterprises to trade within free continent area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The big question here is the agreement for the elite youth, those who have access. What about those who are in the rural areas? But I don't know. I've been told to be neutral, and I'm very neutral. So we'll cross over to the other side and just hear what the Vice President Is that so? He has to say. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, or rather, we're going into the evening soon. So, yeah, I'm Kamkhelo Mavi, the SRC Deputy President, and obviously our side is to maintain our stance within, being for the free trade. And I think our, respectable against debater there mentioned something very important. However, I think we all need to reflect, obviously, on a journey that we are trying to go in for and take some pointers from what has already been laid forth before us by Edith. Edith, I think, interestingly says it that how is it that we are going to stand as individual businesses? I think when we're speaking about small businesses, I think also equally have a responsibility, I think, to somehow, some way gather the strength from each other and now build that elite form of business, I think, that we're trying to come up with. So I think that is just one thing that I'd like to bring forth, that small businesses do have a chance, I think, in the bigger market if they will be able to form strategic alliances, because I don't think the big businesses started just by simply being that one business and then building itself from the ground like that. I think we also learned from the South African market as well that there are businessmen who have failed and then emerged businesses, and now they are some of the leading business people within the country itself. So what does that mean then for the continent? I think then that means that within the free trade in itself, for me, I want to take it from the 25% of the world's, economy, which is the USA, whereby the USA, before it became the United States of America, it started as different states, and then at one point, the states were coming in, and then it became then one big, country now, which is known as the United States of America. And I think then if we look at our continent itself, if you look at the economy, what we look at in terms of a single market, the currency in itself, maybe this is actually a start as well to saying that we can form a United States of Africa that can be a global player and not just be within itself and scattered around. I mean, there's 42 currencies in 54 countries. How is it that we are like that, whereas we are such a powerful and continent? So I think it's all about starting from the roots and going up. So we cannot say that there's businesses that are disadvantaged in this process. It's just all about forming alliances, and we take it to the countries in itself being able to utilize this free trade. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. I think from what you're saying, indeed, the AfCFTA agreement is a game changer, according to him. But Kamala, what are your thoughts?
So, in Africa, we have, how do we call it? Is it a story? Is a proverb? They say, if you see the rat running into fire, know what chasing it is hotter than fire. So that's after for us in the continent. If you look at the Africa continent itself, they are accepting the protocol, but everyone looking at it, they look fire instead of looking at an opportunity. It's hotter to implement it. I'll give you the scenario. Today, it's easy for a white person from Europe to travel across African continent free without being disturbed. But when a black person shows his face at the border, you'll understand why you were born in Africa. Or why you were born a black person. Because they're giving privileges to the white people more than their own. Today as we are speaking in Africa continent, we have some of the Africa countries that are providing visa-free for European countries, but not for their fellow Africans. Other countries, you need to pay more than $150, and you need to wait more than 3 weeks to get the visa. So if you want today to trade tomatoes from South Africa to Nigeria, and you want for 3 weeks, what will be the situation of your tomato? You think they will be surviving in the market again? Eh? I was looking at my country in Tanzania. Around 8% of the tenders on construction have been provided for Chinese companies and other companies from outside. We have the universities that are providing the engineers, but those engineers, you will never see them on the field. And we are talking to create young people that will go to international market. If every country are providing tenders for foreigners, where does the young people get skills that will enable them to compete internationally or to secure the seat on international market? So I think it's not even in Tanzania, but in other countries. If you just go to South Sudan, if you just go, it's the same. And what kind of skills are we providing for young people today to compete in the international market? In our countries, you will be surprised, we still learn about agrarian revolution, First World War. Those are the things we are wasting time on. While young people in China today, they're learning about the technology. They're learning on how taking the market. But for our kids, we are preaching them about Archduke, how does Archduke cause the First World War? We are teaching them about long distance trade. We are teaching them about things that never even matters in our life. Wasting a lot of time in things that never matters. So you cannot have young people who will just go to compete in the world market. The other thing, you are from South Africa, you're traveling to Nigeria. The first thing they will take you outside of the continent, because who owns the means of transport, they will take you to UK or to Dubai, and again they bring you back to Africa. You know how many hours do you spend on the way? Do you know how many hours do you spend? So if you want to do business, it's failure in itself. Okay, the last one. Trusty. How many people here do you think that you can send money to Nigerian brother and you receive your cargo as you send the money? So you are here preaching about the free trade, where you know that you cannot send the money to your brother in Nigeria and deliver the goods as you ordered. So you just go to buy in Amazon, you just go to buy in other established platform, right? But you want to buy it for your brother. Because we have created the people that they are not trusted in their continent. You understand? So we are looking at this big thing. But the environment we have, they are not. The last one, I'm not a politician, because the politicians, they say the last one and the last one and the last one. But I'm not a politician, so let me do the last one. The last one, we have in Africa, we have this tendency. You know, when people they are getting older, when they are getting older, they see there is no enough space for them to acquire places. You know what they do? They create institutions because they want to have a seat and to get more money. So if he was an ambassador, he works in the government more than 20 years, he becomes an ambassador outside of the country. When he returns after they retire, they establish an institution. Not because saving young people, no, it will be in the name of young people, but who are there, they are not the young. So you will find an organization is led by an ambassador. When there is a meeting for discussing the issues, is calling the entire of ambassadors. So you find the whole room is all the people, and it's a meeting for young people, and there are only 4 young people. So these are the institutions we have in Africa. If you look at them, because look what kind of trade do you going to create? You have I saw everyone here has a good design. You design a thing today, and there is no one who is protecting your design. Tomorrow, you will find a big company has already produced your design, 100 of copies there in the market. Yeah. Do you think we are going to get creative young people who are going to produce? No. So I think we need to rethink. Yeah, to rethink. If you just go to the borders. Okay, the last one. Just go to the borders. Just go to the borders. We are here preaching about free movement of goods and people across the continent, right? Those who are preaching and those who are acting, they are in different way of understanding things. Because I've seen terrible things in my country sometime in the region. The other time, we had some farmers transporting maize from Tanzania to Kenya. And they reached at the border, the Kenyans, they are like, we are not taking your maize. Because we have our own maize. But it was not because they have it, because there was a political understanding between the leaders of the country. You know what's happened? Tons and tons of maize, they are rotten at the border. Who got the rest were not the leaders, they were the farmers, right? So those who are standing at the borders, they never understand, because they just go there, show up like, no, you know, there is free movement of goods and the people across the continent. They will say, who told you that? Because they never understand what's going on in the continent. So, the border migrations officers, yeah, they need to be part and parcel. If you are not prepared them to get into this, you will never succeed, because they will be neglecting the young people to move. So, the young people, they will see the option is running for Europe. You saw what's happening at Lampedusa. We are in the Sahara Desert, and millions of young people are dying because there is no sustainable environment at their home countries. You saw by yourself every day on the news, young people that are running outside of the country. If you just go to the embassy, you'll find one queue of young people, they want to go to Europe. Well, our grandfathers were taken by force, but for we young people, we want to go by ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Last One. I think. Yeah, thank you so much, Kamal. I think all this is just pointing out to how do we really create an enabling environment for the agreement to really thrive. But I'll give an opportunity to my presidents to just give their closing argument, because Kamala took all his sweet time, so you can just give your closing argument and we'll be done.
So I hope I'm not going to have too many last ones, but I'd like to share the last one also with my fellow president here. So I think, you know, the second speaker, when they started, at one point I felt like they were leaning towards us, you know, this side, because some of the things that they were, you know, mentioning speaks in terms of obviously trying to reclaim, you know, our identity as Africans, and most importantly within the economic sector itself. And what do I mean by this? I want to just make an example for, like, if you look at Nigeria at the current moment, with them having to build the airport that they are currently building, where are they sourcing in the money? They're sourcing it in from, you know, America, whereby to America it's beneficial to them, because when you are traveling through Nigeria now to go to America, unlike having to travel through Dubai, you know, through the Emirates. So what is that? It's beneficial towards America because they are taking away the economy away from, you know, the Asian side of things. What about Africans? Africans now become like the puppet between two different world powers, you understand? But that, I think, should also be something that lays a foundation for us as Africans to say that what is what's the type of economy that we want to set for ourselves. And I think this free trade in itself, it speaks to what we should actually try to do, because once the free trade becomes one, where all the countries become one within the single market and the currency in itself, then whatever that is then being done between the two world powers and whatever that they're trying to do, it's no longer, you know, it cannot emerge, because there's this now third world power, which is Africa in itself, you know, that is coming in. But myself as a, you know, to be teacher, there's always one thing when you speak about decolonization and how we look at decolonization, right? And most recently, we're looking at colonization within the economy itself, whereby if you look at what is happening when you're when you're in university, you are somehow trying to be, you are taught to go into an economy that is already colonized in itself. You're going into the business sector, which is colonized in itself. So I think already on its own, the free trade, it's a starting point to actually decolonizing, because once you decolonize the markets, then it comes down to the institution now, whereby wherever we teach people and whatever we teach them to be Africa oriented. Therefore, now you are actually teaching you are teaching whoever that wants to go into the business sector how to be African oriented within the business sector, within the economy in itself, which means that the free trade can actually come now from the roots, going back up, which is what I've been saying, that if you're looking at 2063, it's true. The people who are setting all these visions and whatever, 2063, where will they be? We don't know. But what we should look at in terms of 2063 in itself is that if you look at the free trade now and start it, probably in 2063 you'll actually have it within the curriculum, within the schools, to teach how these young aspiring business people can be Africa-centered within the business market. I think my fellow president would like to add on, and then we just close it.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I'm gonna be very long and short, nah? So really, colleagues, when we start looking at this concept of a free trade very critically, nah, I think the speakers who are against it, they are not really against it. Like, if you really listen to them, they are not really against it. They are just saying that there are these barriers which will be hard for us to cross through, right? And what we are saying is that let us identify these barriers and then find models which will allow us to break through them, okay? So the reason, colleagues, that side why comrades called for a free trade in Africa is because, one, notice that most of the imports that we are actually taking from other countries, the money that we spend on imports is greater than the money that we generate from exports. So if we're calling for a free trade, what we are literally saying there is that we are not just saying that goods must just move freely, but it goes deeper, as my colleague has noted, that it even goes to the education itself. Because at the end of the day, where do these goods that we want them to be freely traded coming from? That's the first question. Where do they come from? You understand? If we are producing them as Africans, I don't see what is wrong with us trading it with the neighbor next door, rather than me waiting for a European to come and extract my materials, and then I go buy it again from them. So again, understand the deficit that comes between the import and the export when we look at African countries. Now, the other thing that I also wanted to make, there's a very critical point. Yeah, I'm on the short part now, the long one is done. There was a very critical point that was made, and that was about this issue of traveling, the mobility of Africans. I think one of the issues we have, and I think it was noted by many of the speakers, is that I don't know what's happening in Ghana. I don't know what's happening in Kenya. The only thing that I see is, of course, engineered, media representations as to what is actually happening in Ghana. So part of us having a free trade is us having synergy and solidarity as Africans and understanding ourselves from intercultural perspectives. So you really need to start this at ground levels and also look at the justification as to why are we doing a free trade before I give long speeches. Thank you very much. No?
Thank you so much, everyone. I really wish that we had more time, but unfortunately we don't. So at this point, I'll just go ahead and announce the winner. So, okay. So what I can say is that both teams are winners. They've ultimately gotten the winning prize because what they've exposed are the gaps and successes that we can all think about. So I think this is food for thought for everyone. Thank you very much. And my name is Tarisai, by the way. Happy Africa Day.
Thank you very much, Tarisai. Don't take your seat yet. You're still helping me. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done with our program for the day. But I just want to find out if there are 1 or 2 burning questions or input from people sitting in the room. Less than a minute. Does anybody want to say something? Tarisai, there's a hand here. But you're just from talking. In less than a minute, please. Thank you.
Thank you. As much as I was against it, but let me just say something because I want to see Africa that works for us. My recommendations to policymakers, please, whenever we have these type of conversations, may they never be seen as tick boxes. May we give birth to things that have to formulate in Africa. The Africa that we want, it won't just happen within a blink of an eye. It has to be a work in progress, a work that, as much as Prof. Moyo has stated so much germs of wisdom, it's important that ultra-experienced people must be amongst young people because we need to complement the knowledge and the wisdom that they have by implementing. Thank you.